Now you can introduce
Yeah.
Dr. Pradeep.
Our speaker, Dr. Pradeep Verma, and his profile. After completing his PhD in genetics in 1973 from IAR, New Delhi, Dr. Verma joined first batch of All India ARS. He worked on wheat and cotton. Innovative research interest
Press.
him in good research. Good research publication in challenging fields in warm areas. Dr. Verma realized as retired as principal scientist and head IARI Wheat Research Station Indore in 2009. His hobbies: photography, bird watching, gardening, and of course, reading and writing. The topic on which he will speak is Fritjof Capra meeting with J. Krishnamurti. Dr. Pradeep Verma, you are welcome to start your speech, please.
Thank you, Sushil. Yeah. First and foremost, why did I choose this topic? And when? Just 15 days back, although I had read almost all his books, Dr. Capra's books, much earlier. Why, I don't know, but maybe the similar questions were there in my mind. So, intuitively, idea came to my mind that this man must have met Krishnamurti sometime or the other in his life. He was also in California. Just to confirm this, I consulted Google, and there it was. Dubeji selected that for me and for all of us and made my job that much lighter. You see, it's quite difficult but interesting to introduce something new, hitherto not touched in Krishnamurti circles, at least in Indore. The only physicist who had a long association with Krishnamurti, we know, is Dr. Bohm, David Bohm. We know, and who discussed in great details the limits of thought with Krishnamurti. To my understanding, Fritjof Capra, this is Fritjof Capra, was never mentioned in our discussions. We have been discussing intellect and intelligence in most of our meetings and discussions as if these are two different minds, different things. Somehow, I have yet to reconcile to this. Simple tagging it to thought, me and mine, intellect became lower or inferior to intelligence. Something like small s and capital S. This insight that when this Google I consulted about Capra's meeting with JK, this insight has helped me to reread Uncommon Wisdom again and again and again. And I've found so many things which I could not find earlier when I was reading this book, Uncommon Wisdom. So this is what happens when we pick up a book. Usually we have some sort of specific questions with which we approach a book. And when the right time comes, then you again read that book and then see that many more things relevant and related to that are there in that book. Krishnamurti must have been a very magnetic personality, a state of energy that pervaded all his words, and we have experienced it in his writings and spoken words. In 1995, Dr. Capra became founding director of the Center for Eco-Literacy in Berkeley, California. He was on faculty on Schumacher College also, another related scientist or social anthropologist. He moved from California at Santa Cruz to London in the fall of 1970, where he spent 4 years exploring the parallels between modern physics and Eastern mysticism towards a new vision of reality, sort of a change in, shift in paradigm. Something or the other, even a specific approach restricts us to a comfort zone. We have been discussing JK all through in various permutation combinations. So I thought, why not to this new year give a fresh bouquet of flowers to have a little wider space and breathe fresh air, although Krishnamurti has covered most of it in his teachings and talks. So now I start the story as written by Fritjof Capra, the result of his interactions with Krishnamurti. So this is the narrative. This is verbatim from Fritjof Capra. I am reading from his book Uncommon Wisdom. One of my first direct contacts with Eastern spirituality was my meeting with J. Krishnamurti in late 1968. At the time, Krishnamurti came to University of California, Santa Cruz to give a series of lectures. He was 73 and had an absolutely stunning appearance. His sharp Indian features, the contrast between his dark skin and his white, perfectly combed hair, his elegant European clothes, his dignified countenance, his measured, flawless English, and above all, the intensity of his concentration and entire presence left me absolutely spellbound. This is what Capra could see it in first appearance of that personality. At that time, that's not. The impact of Krishnamurti's physical appearance and charisma was enhanced and deepened by what he said. Krishnamurti was a very original thinker who rejected all spiritual authority and traditions. His teachings were quite close to those of Buddhism, but he never used any terms from Buddhism or from any other branch of traditional Eastern thought. The task he set himself was extremely difficult: to use language and reasoning in order to lead his audience beyond language and reasoning. See the Capra's penetrance, and the way in which he went about it was highly impressive. Krishnamurti would select a well-known existential problem, fear, desire, death, time, as the topic of a particular lecture. And he would begin his talk with something like the following words: "Let us go into this together. I am not going to tell you anything. I have no authority. We are going to explore this question together." He would then show the futility of all conventional ways of eliminating, for example, fear. Whereupon he would ask slowly, with great intensity and with an acute sense of drama, "Is it possible for you at this very moment, right here, to get rid of fear? Not to suppress it or deny it, resist it, but to get rid of it once and for all. This is our task tonight. to get rid of fear completely, totally, once and for all? If we cannot do that, my lecture will be useless. Now the stage was set, the audience was rapt and utterly attentive. So let us examine this question. Krishnamurti would continue, without judging, without condemning, without justifying. What is fear? Let us go into this together, you and the speaker. Let us see whether we can really communicate, being at the same level, at the same intensity, at the same time. Using the speaker as a mirror, can you find the answer to this extraordinarily important question? What is fear? And then he would begin to weave. Then he would begin to weave an immaculate web of concepts. He would show that in order to understand fear, you have to understand desire. To understand desire, you have to understand thought, and therefore time, and knowledge, and the self, and so on and so forth. Krishnamurti would present a brilliant analysis of how these basic existential problems are interrelated, not theoretically, but experimentally. He would not merely confront you with the result of his analysis, but urge and persuade you to get involved in the analyzing process yourself. At the end, you would come away with the strong and clear feeling that the only way to solve any of your existential problems was to go beyond thought, beyond language, beyond time, to achieve, as he put it in the title of one of his best books, Freedom from the Known. I remember, this is Capra continuing, I remember that I was fascinated as well as deeply disturbed by Krishnamurti's lectures. After each evening talk, Jacqueline and I stayed up for several hours more, sitting at our fireplace and discussing what Krishnamurti had said. This was my first direct encounter with a radical spiritual teacher. And I was immediately faced with a serious problem. I had just embarked on a promising scientific career in which I had considerable emotional involvement. And now Krishnamurti told me with all his charisma and persuasion to stop thinking, to liberate myself from all knowledge, to leave reasoning behind. What did this mean for me? Should I give up my scientific career at this early stage, or should I remain a scientist and abandon all hope of attaining spiritual self-realization? I longed to ask Krishnamurti for advice, but he did not allow any questions at his lectures, nor would he see anybody afterward. We made several attempts to see him, but were told firmly that Krishnamurti did not wish to be disturbed. It was a lucky coincidence, or was it, that finally brought us an audience. It turned out that Krishnamurti had a French secretary, and after the last lecture, Jacqueline, who is a native of Paris, managed to strike up a conversation with this man. They hit it off well, and as a result, we ended up seeing Krishnamurti in his apartment the following morning. I was rather intimidated when I finally sat face to face with the master. But I did not lose any time. I knew what I had come for. Straight, Capra is telling, how can I be a scientist? I asked, and still follow your advice of stopping thought and attaining freedom from the known. Krishnamurti did not hesitate for a moment. He answered my question in 10 seconds in a way that completely solved my problem. First, you are a human being, he said. Then you are a scientist. First, you have to become free, and this freedom cannot be achieved through thought. It is achieved through meditation, the understanding of the totality of life, in which every form of fragmentation has ceased. Once I had reached this understanding of life as a whole, he told me I would be able to specialize and work as a scientist without any problems. And of course, there was no question of abolishing science. Switching to French, Krishnamurti added. In French, he talked something. After this brief but decisive meeting, I did not see Krishnamurti again until 6 years later, when I was invited along with several other scientists to spend a week in discussion with him at his educational center at Brockwood Park, south of London. His appearance was still very striking, even though he had lost some of his intensity. During that week, I came to know Krishnamurti much better, including some of his shortcomings. When he spoke, he was again very powerful and charismatic. But I was disappointed by the fact that we could never really draw Krishnamurti into a discussion. He would speak, but he would not listen. On the other hand, I had many exciting discussions with my fellow scientists, David Bohm, Carl Pribram, and George Sudarshan, among others. Thereafter, I all but lost touch with Krishnamurti. I always acknowledged his decisive influence on me, and I would often hear about him from various people. But I did not attend another lecture, nor did I read any of his other books. There in January 1983, I found myself in Madras. In southern India, at the conference of the Theosophical Society, opposite Krishnamurti's estate, and since Krishnamurti happened to be there and gave an evening lecture, I went to pay my respects. The beautiful park with its huge old trees was packed with people, mostly Indian, who sat quietly on the ground and waited for the beginning of a ritual that most of them had participated in many times before. At 8 o'clock, Krishnamurti appeared dressed in Indian clothes and walked slowly but with great assurance toward the prepared platform. It was wonderful to see him at 88, making his entrance the way he had done for more than half a century, climbing the stairs to the platform without any help, making it was wonderful, but with great assurance toward his entrance the way he had done for climbing the stairs to the platform more than half a century, climbing the stairs to the platform without any help, sitting down on a cushion and folding his hands in the traditional Indian salute to begin his talk. Krishnamurti spoke for 75 minutes, any hesitation and without almost the same intensity I had witnessed 15 years before. The topic of the evening was desire, and he laid out his web as clearly and skillfully as he had always done. This was a unique opportunity for me to gauge the evolution of my own understanding from the time I had first met him. And I felt for the first time that I clearly understood his method and his personality. His analysis of desire was clear and beautiful. Perception causes a sensory response. He said, then thought intervenes. I want, I don't want, I wish. And thus desire is generated. It is not caused by the object of desire and will persist with varying objects as long as thought intervenes. Therefore, to free oneself from desire cannot be achieved by suppressing or avoiding sensory experience, the way of the ascetic. The only way to be free from desire is to be free from thought. What Krishnamurti did not say is how. What he did not say, how freedom from thought can be achieved. Like the Buddha, he offered a brilliant analysis of the problem, but unlike the Buddha, he did not show a clear path toward liberation. Perhaps, I wondered, Krishnamurti himself had not gone far enough on this path, question mark. Perhaps he had not sufficiently freed himself from all conditioning to lead his disciples to full self-realization. After the lecture, I was invited to join Krishnamurti and several other people for dinner. Understandably, he was quite exhausted from his lecture and not in the mood for any discussion. Nor was I. I had come simply to show my gratitude and had been richly rewarded. I told Krishnamurti the story of our first meeting and thanked him once more for his decisive influence and help, being well aware that this would probably be our last encounter, as indeed it turned out to be. The problem that Krishnamurti had solved for me, Zen-like with one stroke, is the problem most physicists face when confronted with the ideas of mystical traditions. How can one transcend thinking without losing one's commitment to science? I'll repeat it. I'll repeat this. The problem that Krishnamurti had solved for me, Zen-like with one stroke, is the problem most physicists face when confronted with the ideas of mystical traditions. How can one transcend thinking without losing one's commitment to science? It is the reason I believe that so many of my colleagues feel threatened by my comparisons between physics and mysticism. Perhaps it will help them to know that I too felt the same threat. I felt it with my whole being, but it appeared at an early stage of my career. And I had the great fortune that the person who made me realize the threat also helped me to transcend. Such a beautiful tribute to Krishnamurti. You see, I will just one very one. You might have heard or read about mystical feeling of Krishnamurti sometime in his life. This I will read what he has undergone, Capra. I was sitting by the ocean one late summer afternoon, watching the waves rolling in and feeling the rhythm of my breathing, when I suddenly became aware of my whole environment as being engaged in a gigantic cosmic dance. Being a physicist, I knew that the sand, rocks, water, and air around me were made of vibrating molecules and atoms, and that these consisted of particles which interacted with one another by creating and destroying other particles. I knew also that the Earth's atmosphere was continually bombarded by showers of cosmic rays, particles of high energy undergoing multiple collisions as they penetrated the air. But this was familiar to me from my research in high energy physics. But until that moment, I had only experienced it through graphs, diagrams, and mathematical theories. As I sat on that beach, my former experiences came to life. I saw cascades of energy coming down from outer space in which particles were created and destroyed in rhythmic pulses. I saw the atoms of the elements and those of my body participating in this cosmic dance of energy. I felt its rhythms, and I heard its sound. And at that moment, I knew that this was the dance of Shiva, the lord of dancers worshipped by the Hindus. So this is part of his story. As is mentioned, I'll just take five or 5 minutes, little more than 5 minutes. This is from his another very heartbreaking work as a book, The Web of Life. What is now emerging at the forefront of science is a coherent scientific theory that offers for the first time a united view of mind, matter, and life. During the past 25 years, a new language for understanding the complexity of living systems, that is, of organisms, social systems, and ecosystems, has been developed at the forefront of science. Since industrial society has been dominated by the Cartesian split, Descartes was the main person in Western philosophy and science, between mind and matter, either Cartesian split between mind and matter, and by the ensuing mechanistic paradigm. This new vision that finally overcomes the Cartesian split will have not only important scientific and philosophical consequences, but also tremendous practical implications. It will change the way we relate to each other and to our living natural environment. The way we deal with our health, our educational system, and many other social and political institutions. This I have taken from, there is one researches 10 years, the best of 10 years Resurgence magazine, which is published from UK. So today, another 5 minutes, please, bear with me. Today, an insight which can be anyone's came to me. Each scientist carries within her. This is what I almost would like to conclude. Although conclusions have been something. Each scientist carries within him, her, or him a mystic, and each mystic carries within his or her being a scientist, both exploring the truth within the space of their consciousness. You see, I wish you all a very happy New Year, friends. Enjoy this New Year. One last share by Iqbal, famous Sufi shair. I will tell you what he said. He said, a long-awaited reality, appear thou sometime in material garb. He was also virtually saying that you come when that unmanifest will become manifest, for the 1,000 obeisances are writhing in my expectant brow. So this is what Iqbal said long ago. कभी ए हकीकत मुंतजर नजरा लिबास मजाज में. Oh, the unmanifest, come thou sometime in material form. The scientists were busy with material form. The mystics are also busy with some sort of thing that came to, that took in India so many deities, so many images, so many things, and keeping us calm and quiet under turbulent conditions. Thank you very much, dear. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Anybody whomsoever wanted to ask some question to Pradeep ji or wanted to share his comment is welcome. By raising hand, you can do that. Harshad Parekh sir, please. Please unmute and say.
One minute.
Yeah.
1 minute. Okay. Thank you, Pradeep ji. Yeah, it's very interesting information you have given. It is more about Capra on Krishnamurti and very little about Tao of Physics. I know Tao of Physics is a very interesting book, and it is a parallel between science and Eastern mysticism. I thought you would tell something about physics, the strange nature of electron or a light which behaves both as a particle and wave. And when twin particles are created simultaneously, and when they move away from each other, there is a kind of interaction happening even when they are very far, a kind of instantaneous action or relationship happens between two particles. And so this is a very mysterious nature of subatomic particles, quantum physics. So
Yes.
this this has a parallel because um, even in Buddhism, it says that everything is related to everything else. So that comes in science also. And another thing, several other people apart from Capra, there, there was one Australian called Donald Ingram Smith. Then there was Vire Peruma and Rohit Mehta and Huxley, and they have also been very deeply affected by Krishnamurti.
Yes.
And even Huxley said that listening to Krishnamurti was like listening to Buddha. So many people have said a lot about Krishnamurti, even Khalil Gibran and
Yes.
Bernard Shaw, and so many. The the important thing about Krishnamurti teachings is that he has not read many books, and it is not a bookish knowledge, but comes from direct insight, and he has developed his own language to communicate with the modern people. And it is very simple, I feel, what Krishnamurti is talking about. It is not mysticism, but it is about how our problems in human life is created, and that there is a possibility of awareness which can see the beginning of any problems like fear, anger, jealousy, loneliness, boredom. And the modern people, they are suffering from all these problems. And if they can understand Krishnamurti very quickly by looking at their own mind, they can really be free. But it seems that looking at oneself is the most difficult thing. It is easy to acquire knowledge about science, about technology, do research in science is easier, but to look at oneself is difficult because in science there is the duality between subject and object. A scientist is working with matter, and then he goes very deep into matter and comes to energy. But then energy is also, there is consciousness. At that level, the science is not able to go deep into consciousness, because in consciousness the observer and the observed, they are one. That means when you are looking at anger, you are anger, and you're looking, you are not separate from it. So this, if a person can understand that the observer and the observed are one in psychological matters, they are not one in science. Science goes to the limit of knowledge, but it cannot transcend knowledge. Science cannot transcend it. And that is where science stops, the mysticism or religion starts. Because in true mysticism, there is not so much thinking involved, not so much knowledge involved, but a direct insight into everything. And that is why Abdus Salam, a physicist, who got a Nobel Prize in physics, he said that scientists have only the secondary insight. The primary insight, the direct insight, only mystical people, religious, spiritual people have that direct insight. And so there was one scientist who had come to Rishi Valley when I was teaching there, and he was nominated for Nobel Prize many times, George Sudarshan, and he was interested in Krishnamurti and also transcendental meditation. And he gave a talk on science and religion. And I told him in the meeting after his talk, I said that where science stops, religion begins. So he said, what do you mean by it? So I said, science can go only up to the limit of knowledge. And religious mind is not a thinking mind. It is a direct observing what is without interpreting it. Whereas a scientist uses his intellect to understand the matter. Whereas there is no necessity to understand anything in the spiritual dimension, only to see what is, and that what is the truth. So this is the beauty of Krishnamurti, that he can take you very quickly to the root or the source from where our problem starts. And our problem starts with the beginning of thinking. And this thinking, what thinking is, that scientists are not able to tell us. They tell us that it is an electrochemical process, but they don't have, they can't decode the thoughts in words. So thinking is still a mystery for the scientists also. So I think I have said enough thing right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshadji. Thank you.
Prasad sir, please. Prasad sir, please.
I mean, I share the disappointment of Harshadji. I also thought that Pradeep would talk about some of these scientific theories, how they unite the universe. I have no science background. I heard of this book, How of Physics. So, the way of physics, which possibly is the way of the universe.
Yes.
Krishnaji or any other mystic would suggest to us that the entire life is united. Even non-life is united. So, it is a teaching of unity. Whereas we live in fragments. Our brain is fragmented with so many fragments. We don't have to detail all those fragments, religious, political, everything we live in fragments, whereas Krishnaji is talking of the unity of life. And he also clearly told Capra that you are a man first, you are a human first, then a scientist. Whereas we, in our life, we tend to be scientists first and then take to this teaching of unity in our later life when death is impending. Then you think of these things. Entire career we spend on the divisive process, which gives us money, prestige, and things like that. We are caught in them. Whereas Krishnaji his emphasis is on the human unity. The unity of life, not human unity, but unity of life. Occasionally, he spoke of unity of non-life also. Non-life also is part of it. And Mr. Capra has made one comment that Krishnaji would not
Listen.
He would not discuss. He would listen, but he would not discuss or something like that. That is not possibly true. He discussed with so many people like David Bohm and all that. Harshadji knows more about all those people with whom he discussed. Some of them are doctors, psychologists. He never hesitated to put forth his theories before scientists or to meet them on their ground. And he also said, maybe he did not liberate himself fully. I mean, this is a comment which most Krishnamurti followers would not like to hear. Because we all think that Krishnamurti is one liberated soul after Buddha. So, how you see, Krishnamurti is like a doctor. He is not interested in telling all that he knows. He is interested in telling only that much and that specific things which will liberate us from our conditioning. I think even Buddha was like that. That is, what they said is not the full extent of what they know or what they have experienced. But what they have said is what is useful for us, for our conditioning, to liberate, to free us from our sorrow, from our suffering and things like that. So, I mean, I wish Pradeep ji would recommend a book or two which gives us a summary of the present day scientific theories which reinforce the findings of the spiritualists or mystics or people like Krishnamurti. Thank you, sir. That's all.
Pradeep ji, please.
Yes, sir.
Pradeep ji, please.
I wanted to, 2 or 3 points I noted down.
Yeah.
When he talked about that you are human being first and scientists later on, then I recalled my journey as a small scientist or researcher or a student. That the work you are engaged in your scientific research career reflects the type of human being you are. You won't take, you see, unless until you are a human first, the branch you select, that depends on the type man you are. You see, me, I was interested always in plants, trees, and botanical research. That is one point, that as a human being, you start and pick up a particular branch. Of course, that particularity will separate you for some time, but ultimately, what is happening now with the shift of paradigm, that these things are again merging back to that whole. David Bohm was fully for the whole when he talked about implicate orders and all that. That every part has whole in it fully. David Bohm, another Geoffrey Chew, a number of other scientists were of this opinion. I met George Sudarshan in Delhi. I had gone to buy that book from him and bought it from him only. So my interest has always been like this only. Then another point is perception, usually when you see something, perception is holistic in a way. You see and some words come out of you, some mumbling comes out of you, some sound comes out of you, out of feeling, some word sound comes out of you that becomes a word, and known or unknown words. You see, you may be a prattler. So then thought is created. Usually, why the great scientists, if you see, especially the German philosopher, earlier only philosophers and seers were there in science, that especially this Wolfgang Goethe was there, German famous Goethe, how you pronounce it, Goethe, and like that. So these people started as a mystic, seers only. All the earlier scientists started as seers only, and then they fragment. Then they started looking deeper. They thought is by dividing it into its basic units, what ultimately atomistic theory or whatever, it's a number of theories. So it is like that. So scientists later, the seer is first. I saw in my plant certain activities, just plain blank mind. I used to go to my field, see the plants, seeing something, then insight comes to you, idea comes to you that maybe this thing is related to that thing in life, in this plant life, and related to outside the soil and all that. So this is what I say, that seeing is most important. Seeing is, what is it? Seeing is doing. Seeing is acting. So likewise, seeing is first, then rest, everything will follow accordingly, how you see. That's why in India, it is called darshan. My darshan depends, excuse me. So everything depends on my seeing. How do I see? How do I see? And how do I listen? These two are the great messages. Rather, you can see it we can see it daily in our life, what it does in our life, seeing and listening. Because I still, when Harshad ji goes out for a walk, morning walk, and what he sees there, absolutely blankly, we usually go out without no thinking mind, just see it, and then you can enjoy. You get better idea about the life, and you are related with that life, how that life, the plant life, the tree life, and all those plants around, how they are related to you, to me, to each one of us. So that relationship becomes clearer and clearer. This is what I feel, but this is not feeling, this is what I see all around daily. And this is a wonderful feeling. You forget everything, you forget all your problems, you get fresh. Because what makes you stale is the thought. If you are mulling over those memories, something, whether this was there exactly when I last met this, then you're in the same mud, same ditch. So it is by nature also. Some people, to me, I can say it's a gift to me. Automatically, it becomes blank in the morning, and then I go and see and click few photographs of wild flowers, very wild, small flowers, not seen by many people, trampled by so many people daily, and the beauty of grass, and a number of things you can enjoy, and you must is not a good word, but still, this is a direct advantage to all of us. This is what I personally feel. I have enjoyed it. I keep enjoying it. So this is all what I have to say. Seeing is important.
Thank you, Pradeep ji. Harshad Parekh sir, please unmute.
Yeah. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yeah. First time I listened this. Everybody was able to listen. Everyone. Nobody asked this question.
Okay. My understanding of what Krishnaji said to Capra, that first you are a human being and then a scientist, what it means that as a human beings, we all have many problems, fear, anger, jealousy, all that. And so even scientists, not only scientists, but also psychologists, they have the problems, though they are dealing with the problems of scientists are dealing mostly not with their own mind. I know that professor with whom I did PhD in USA, that professor was um, uh, very famous. He had many awards, written many books on the subject of gaseous electronics, but he was not aware about what is happening to his family life. He was so ambitious to get even more recognition that he neglected his family, and one day his wife and child ran away from him. And then this professor became very sad that he really was so much involved in his scientific research that he neglected other parts of life. So the scientists are sometimes very partial to, and they are not free from jealousy, ambition, desire to get some award and all that, Nobel Prize. This scientist, George Sudarshan, was nominated for Nobel Prize several times, but he was very frustrated when he did not get the Nobel Prize. So, as a human, he was a human being with the human problems. And Krishna ji is telling that as a human being, first look at your own mind, your own life, and science can come later. So, a scientist who is a good scientist, because what happens that many times scientists they do some research and that research is applied by politicians for destroying humanity. So Einstein realized that he contributed to the invention of atom bomb, which was actually used on Japan, and so he was very sad. So scientists they work for money or recognition, and then they don't know how the work they are doing is used. And generally, science has been misused a lot because uh, politicians, people who are in power, they have not understood their own mind. If they really are very peaceful, peace loving, and really good human beings, then they will not destroy the humanity. And actually, has science is responsible for a lot of destruction, destroying even our planet Earth. So we are at a very critical time in the history of humanity. And there is a very beautiful article about philosophy in the Week magazine, the latest one. And it says that we are living in a very bad times, very dangerous times. And what we need is not more technology, more science, but we need wisdom. And philosophy is nothing but love for wisdom. So, what it means to be a good human being, very kind human being, is more important than putting on more and more artificial intelligence or technology and science. We don't need more science now. We need good human beings. And that is what Krishnamurti was emphasizing, that first be a good human being, then a scientist. Okay, thank you.
Ravi Kaushal. Ravi
Yes,
Kaushal
sir.
thoughts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. So I heard the phrase this he is saying that the freedom is achieved by meditation. So I object that, even if it is he or whosoever. So I object the very word achieved. Achieved by whom? Can you achieve freedom? That is one thing. I see that there is freedom is like freedom is freedom from something, freedom from fear or whatever the contents, and there is freedom per se on its own. So I'm not going into deeper into this. So the another thing is that there is science, something about quantum physics. Someone has told. So my brother actually do some research on that subject. So he says I see that the quantum says that the observer changes the behavior of the particle. So the moment the observers see the particle, the behavior of the particle change. So this thing and the that this split wave into the wave and then the particle. Actually, scientists knows that it happens. This is how when the observer is there, the wave change its behavior and become a particle. So it seems to me that this is how our consciousness also. So I see that how this three-dimensional world structure uh, in a moment to us. So this thing I see, this is very before I think before our thinking, much before all that. That is so instant that mind cannot grasp that, and that uh, the split and the scientist knows, but they don't know why it happened. I think my brother says that there are three problems in this quantum, and he has some answer for that, but somehow is busy in his all things. And this thing, the behavior of the particle, and there is one word also that there are two scientists like Einstein and the Niels Bohr. Einstein is the father of classical physics, and this man Niels Bohr is father of. He says that, but it's not my word. My brother says that he's the father of quantum physics. So, and he says that there is a fight between them on one thing that the Einstein says that if the calculation is saying there's a moon in the sky in the evening, so there has to be the moon in the sky. But Niels Bohr says that how do you know that? It is your imagination, it is your calculation, but that fact come into being when you go out and see the outside that there is a moon. So that fact, that living thing is there only when the observer is there. Otherwise, it is all calculation or imagination or whatever you are saying, but it is not the factual thing. So these are the things. He says that Niels Bohr says that the moment the observer is there, the things actually things are nowhere. There is no universe, but the moment the observer is there, the universe structure itself, the thing structure, the space and all that structure itself. Somewhere I read in this Shastras also that this line is that I think that's Ramana's line, if I'm not wrong. He says that the consciousness and the mind come together and go together. So I don't know. Let's see what desire. There's one word also, desire. So I see that desire when there is love, desire is actually not a problem. You don't make it as a problem. This is the thing I see like that, and Harshad sir is saying that what is truth. So I think Sir K is saying that what is not truth, what is the fact. But by understanding the truth, you can see what truth is. And then one truth. And Pradeep sir, yes, yes, I appreciate that you. I also see that only two things can change the human consciousness. Only two things: the seeing and the listening. So there's only two things. All the scriptures are full of this in that manner. The listening is the shruti, and and there is one more thing also. Uh, through listening, you can see. Matlab when your ears become your eyes, like that. So this is so Shruti and what is all meditation is all perception and it's all seeing. And Shruti is something when you listen so intensely that the moment uh, some uh, some Zen thing is there and it's clear all your conflicts and all whatever is there. And one thing that this humanity, the humanity is also thing. So I think, sir, how you connect with the humanity? How? Because this thing is very sensitive kind of thing. You know, when you see things, uh, you connect with them. Matlab, to me, all that these things of wars and all that, and you see, and you this Manipur mein jo wo that I cannot uh, where we are going if we cannot feel that there's one thing and there's the another thing that the science gives us uh, all these things and the power. So science gives us power and knowledge, but wisdom is far deeper than all these things. So if there is wisdom, we know how to use the power. Power is destructive, also constructive. The way there is wisdom. Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
It is very unusual that Dinesh, you are questioning so late. You are raising hand so late. What's wrong? You are given 10 minutes. You are given 10 minutes by me, whatever you wanted to speak.
Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes.
Yeah, we are able to hear your voice.
Yeah.
10 minutes are given to you. You please say your things.
Today, actually, what has happened, I was not able to understand the exact subject.
Oh, wonderful.
Whether we are talking of Capra's story, what he has felt, and where he has gone in his life, or we are talking of his life journey, etc., or we are talking of science, or we are talking of spirituality. And how our dear Dr. Sir, Pradeep Sir, is linking the issues. So that was a very unusual thing happening here. And that was not very clear to me. But as the talks go on, I could I can take some points. I thought that let me talk on that. First of the thing, we have discussed enough about quantum physics, the behavior of the light in the past also, as Harshad sir talked. But and we keep on repeating these things, but we do not know that there are some other things also in science which are very mystical. Say, for example, one before quantum physics come into picture, and I think light's behavior was also studied at the same time. Scientists know that entropy of a system is increasing. They have given, physics has given a formula, or physics has said that entropy of a system is always increasing. Means disorder of a system will always be increasing. What is entropy basically? Entropy is a thing which they have defined that when if you take energy and heat up it, then it will be destroyed the order of the system and it will go in vain. Means we will always be losing the energy. That's what the physics says. So, but there were no there was no dialogue between physics and biology. So they say physics says that entropy of a system will always be increasing. Means disorder will always be increasing. But whereas what is happening in biology? In biology, entropy of a system is reducing. Means it is just the opposite. Means one cell becomes two cells become four cells, and there is a perfect order in that. So even so, physics and biology, they are standing just opposite to each other. So they could not solve, and still this question is there: how in biology cells are multiplying themselves without any reason or without any cause? Afterwards, they have gone to the DNA level and all that, and still the basic question remains: who is managing the order behind all this? Second point, physics said that world is now physics says that the world is a sort of hologram. Hologram means even a smallest particle of the hologram, suppose if you consider a picture of anything, then the smallest particle of that picture contains all the information of the total picture, and the total picture can be formed from that smallest particle. So it means every smallest unit of this universe contains all the information of the universe. This is very strange and very interesting thing. And even the spirituality says, the traditional spirituality says that Pindate Brahmandi means whatever is in Brahmand, the same is available in your Pinda. Means whatever is available in the universe, the same thing is available in you also. So this is also very strange phenomena, and this is a mystery. Even JK said, can you realize that the mystery is happening in front of you all the time? Can you realize that there is a mystery? First, you realize that there is a mystery. Don't take it granted the whole system, and see what the mystery is. Then perhaps there will be a start of change. Now, next point is, now they say that the world is made up of unified field. I mean, it is made up of various energies with the various dimensions, and it has got order and disorder both. Somewhere there is a emerging of the order, new stars and all that, and somewhere the stars are destroying there is a destruction in the stars and all that. So there is a order also and disorder also, both are present simultaneously. Now how it is maintained, now how this order is maintained, that's a mystery. It's a question, it's a big question. Even Einstein has realized this thing, and he said that there has to be some intelligence which is doing all these things, or it is behind all this game. Still, this question is unanswered. So now scientists are still working in this direction, and now they are talking of God particles and all that, and they are trying to see what is the minimum, or you can say most subtle unit in this universe. Still, they are struggling for this. Then now come to thought or our spirituality. can we realize that thought is only recording the things, and in existence, things are happening, and thought is only thought is only a recording of the data of which our senses has given to us. Means our senses are collecting some data, we are doing some working on it, and we are just recording in memory in the form of thought. So thought is nothing but like our notebook, or we can say that it's just a knowledge which is maintained in a particular system in a particular way, like in computer hard disk or in books and all that. So it is just a recording. It is not the actual thing. So now how it is happening in the existence, that is a that is a mystery. Now the main question in spirituality is how, when you realize this, that your senses are the only instrument which gives you all this data, and all other your instruments like your intellect, like your feelings, like your emotions are secondary things, or they are after senses data. First senses data comes into picture, and then they goes beyond it. So all in spirituality, traditional spirituality, they have used senses as the basic instrument to understand what truth is. Now, and then they realize that unless we go beyond the senses, because senses are giving us a limited information or limited experience, or a limited means portion of the truth. So how can we know what is truth? So they tried to go beyond senses, and that is the real spirituality. Now comes to the Ravi Kaushal statements. Many statements Ravi Kaushal has given. My question is mathematics first, or the existence is first, or the things are first? So mathematics, yes, mathematics is also you can say a portion of the truth, which we are only using just to explain the things. The things are first, and then we are trying to explain it. We are trying to explain it in various ways, in mathematical order, or you are using various science branches like mathematics, biology, physics, etc., or chemistry and all that. But basically, systems are first. Now he has also talked about Shruti. So it is out of the way, but let me explain. In Ved, they say that Shruti is what? Rishi has, in their deep meditation, they have heard some voices along with the vibrations, and they said, they called it mantra, and then they have mentioned that this mantra has been heard in the deep meditation by a particular Rishi. So Shruti is basically a divine voice, or you can say what you can say, a voice coming beyond the dimension and directly giving you the information about a particular thing or a particular structure of a mantra. Similarly, what is Drishti? They said that this mantra, Rishi Drishta is, say for example, Valmiki or anybody. So they said that this Drishti means the person has already, the person has seen this in deep meditation, the actual structure of the mantra, has seen it. Means one is light. So basic, what we can say, one has used the instrument of, or one has used instrument as the main thing, instrument of light as the main thing, which has come into picture as Drishti, Divya Drishti, they said, or Divya Shruti. Shruti means they have just heard it. They have not, what we can say, manufactured this mantra or made this mantra, but they have just heard it as it is. We also know that in some scientists has also gone such visions, like in case of benzene. We have heard a good example of benzene. scientist has seen the whole structure of benzene in in slip, and then he has made theory that this benzene molecule will be like this, or benzene will be like this. So these are the things which are also to be thought, or we should think on these things. Thank you. Yes, Pradeep sir, you wanted to say something.
Yes. Harshad Bhai talked about scientists and their limitedness of a scientist. Of course, there are scientists, but life sciences is little different. So that was a very partial view of scientists, because when you are dealing with life in any form, then you get feelings, emotions, and those things. You get a beautiful communion or connectivity with life. But if you are working with non-living things, so-called non-living, something like, then we were talking about physical scientists, mostly mechanistic science. We were talking about Oppenheimer's work and all those atom bomb and everything, and particle physics, high energy particle physics. On that. These things are, but life sciences, if you are in, then Jagdish Basu was the only thing who could produce, you could successfully demonstrate that the non-metals and non-metals and the life, they have the same rhythms if they are given a particular stress. So there is that living and non-living also, that line is diminished. So, and then Dinesh talked about that you are talking about Capra's journey more. We are not seeing the human side of Capra that took him to Krishnamurti. You can ask the same question, what took him to Krishnamurti? So again, you can use that word spirituality, because spirituality is not something separate from life. Spirituality is a part of, everyone has spirituality of some degree, some type. Then we talked about entropy. Entropy is the problem in closed systems. But Ilya Prigogine has worked beautifully and produced a wonderful book, Order Out of Chaos. In that you will find that living system. Life, we are living systems exchanging matter and energy continuously with the cosmos. So we are not closed systems. Partially open system, maintaining our holism, a micro whole, as well as interacting with the cosmos. So things are far off. We are talking about Newtonian physics and all that, those things. It's not that. Then Dinesh is talking about going beyond senses. You may tell something about beyond senses. How could he sense the beyond sense like that? So going beyond senses, it is very easy to, certain words we can use definitely, but beyond this or beyond that, beyond senses, I could not understand what does it mean by beyond senses. Then Benzene, he talked about the Kekule's work, that how could he visualize in a dream or semi-dream a snake eating its own tail. You see, so that why that closed system benzene ring was speculated. Like that, DNA also, a number of things are there. But that is simply talking about something we don't know. So then on one side, we are talking the partial nature of knowledge. Then we don't know. We said we don't know this and that. So naturally, you will explore it. And once it comes out in which can be demonstrated, it becomes a science. It becomes a part of your memory also. So like that, we can't be rigid in anything. More so these days, when the pollution is tremendous, everything, life is threatened because of the pollution. Every scientist is merging towards eco-friendliness or this ecology ultimately. Why the appropriate technology work has come out. what is the appropriate technology, using your domestic resources and all those things to get the best and with least amount of investments. We are not realizing the beauty of trees around me. That's why seeing a tree, can you see a tree? This has been talked a number of times in Krishnamurti discussions. But feeling associated with nature all around us is very, very important. Our sensitivity is very important. That gives to sensibility ultimately. This is what I feel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I reply to it?
Ghosh. My pronunciation is correct? Ghosh, sir.
House.
Please, only 3 minutes are left. Please take these 3 minutes and finish it.
I also want to reply, Mr. Pradeep.
No, sorry. I have given you 10 minutes uninterrupted. Please bear with me. It is 7:27. I already said, Pradeep, I will end at 7:25. Sorry.
I will talk to you. Dinesh, don't worry. We will discuss. Don't worry.
You discuss every day. So you go on discussing. No problem. Mr. Ghosh. Some problem with him? Is there any problem with him?
3 minutes.
Oh, yes. Definitely, I have given you 2 minutes more. Mr. Pradeep, I have been very generous.
Not to me. I don't need. Gauss is there. Gauss is raising his hand.
So can I talk now?
Yes.
No, you can't talk. You can't talk. Just let me confirm. Ghosh is not saying he raised the hand. He raised the hand.
His voice is not coming.
His voice is not coming.
My voice is not reaching.
His voice is not coming.
Then, Parekh sir, please end it. Only
Sir, kindly give me one.
I will give you.
Say something. Hello. Yeah, can I say something?
Harshad bhai, come on.
No, I just want to mention that the mathematician Ramanujam, he used to get the final formula directly without going step by step mathematics. So he was a worshipper of some goddess, and it is a mystery that how this insight happens even in the field of science through some mystery. So that is all we have.
Shakuntala Devi is another. Shakuntala Devi is another.
Yeah, right.
Should I end it now, Harshad sir?
Yeah.
Or
yes.
Yes.
No, nothing.
Modak, please end it. Thank you. Thanks to all mystics, scientists. Everybody.